In the quiet Cleveland suburb of Strongsville, Ohio, Natalie and John Shirilla lived what most would call an average life. Middle class, simple routines, and a close-knit relationship with their 17-year-old daughter, Mackenzie Shirilla. She was a cheerleader, an honor student, a teenage girl with a bright future ahead of her. But nothing could have prepared them for the chilling truth that would unravel after a horrific car crash in the early hours of July 31, 2022. Initially believed to be a tragic accident, the wreck left two young men dead and Mackenzie fighting for her life. But as investigators dug deeper, what they found turned sympathy into shock, and tragedy into terror. Mackenzie wasn't just a survivor, she was the driver. And this wasn't an accident. It was cold-blooded murder. Stay with us to uncover every disturbing twist, every heart-wrenching decision, and the explosive courtroom drama that followed. This is the haunting tale of Mackenzie Shirilla. It was just after 5:30 a.m. on a muggy summer morning when the call came in. A silver Toyota Camry was found crashed into the side of a brick warehouse on Progress Drive in Strongsville. The impact was devastating. The car, crumpled like a soda can, showed no signs of braking. Emergency responders quickly realized the gravity of the situation. Inside the vehicle were three teenagers. 17-year-old Mackenzie Shirilla in the driver's seat, barely conscious and suffering from serious injuries. In the passenger seat, 19-year-old Dominic Russo, dead on impact, and in the back, 20-year-old Davion Flanagan, also deceased. It looked like a tragic teen accident. Speed, carelessness, maybe drinking. Another sad story in a long line of youth gone too soon. But something didn't sit right with investigators. When officers visited Natalie and John at the hospital to inform them of Mackenzie's condition, they were heartbroken, but hopeful. She was alive. Intubated. Injured. But alive. But the moment the Strongsville Police Department began piecing together the timeline, they were confronted with a dark and confusing puzzle. Why were three teens in an industrial park at 5 a.m.? Why did the car never brake? And what could possibly explain the flat-out, deadly acceleration into a concrete wall? As Mackenzie recovered in the hospital over the following weeks, detectives quietly started pulling data from the car's black box. What it revealed was bone-chilling. At precisely 5:30 a.m., Mackenzie had floored the gas pedal, accelerating to 100 miles per hour, and never touched the brakes. There was no swerve, no skid marks, no attempt to avoid the crash. It was deliberate. Worse still, surveillance footage from a nearby business painted an even more horrifying picture. The camera captured the Camry turning into the dead-end industrial park, slowly creeping forward as if lining up the shot, then flooring it straight into the wall. The footage left investigators stunned. This was no accident. Mackenzie and Dominic Russo had been in an on-again, off-again relationship since their early teens. Friends described it as volatile. There were countless breakups, emotional texts, threats, reconciliations. Classic teenage drama until it wasn't. In the weeks before the crash, things had grown darker. Mackenzie was reportedly furious over Dominic seeing someone new. Witnesses said she had become obsessed, sometimes angry and increasingly unstable. One friend claimed Mackenzie had even said, "If I can't have him, no one will." That friend thought she was just being dramatic. Turns out she wasn't. Davion Flanagan, the third teen in the car, wasn't involved romantically. He was described as a peacemaker, someone trying to calm things down between Mackenzie and Dominic. But tragically he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. The timeline was airtight. Mackenzie had picked up Dominic and Davion sometime after midnight. They drove around for hours. Social media showed cryptic Snapchats of them together. Laughing, vaping, loud music. But behind that carefree mask was a brewing storm. At one point during the ride, Dominic texted a friend, "I think she's acting weird." By 5:30 a.m. they were dead. As soon as Mackenzie was well enough to leave the hospital, she was arrested. The charge: double homicide. Natalie and John were shattered. One minute they were preparing to help their daughter recover from trauma. The next, they were sitting across from detectives who told them, "Your daughter intentionally killed 2 people. One of them was her boyfriend." At first, they refused to believe it. "There's no way," Natalie told reporters. "That's not the girl I raised." But the facts were impossible to deny. The evidence was overwhelming. And worst of all, Mackenzie never denied being behind the wheel. She claimed to have no memory of the crash. Her defense: loss of consciousness. In July 2023, a packed courtroom watched in silence as prosecutors laid out their case. The black box data, the surveillance footage, text messages, the witnesses, and finally Mackenzie herself, stone-faced, her once vibrant teen persona reduced to a shell of a girl behind shackles. Prosecutors argued that Mackenzie weaponized the car, that she had planned the murder, that she turned a vehicle into a bullet, using it as a means to exact vengeance on the boy who broke her heart. Her defense team pushed back. They said she had a seizure, that she wasn't in control, that this was a tragic medical incident, not murder. But medical records showed no such diagnosis. No evidence of epilepsy. No history of seizures. Just anger, obsession, and revenge. The jury deliberated for less than a day. Verdict: guilty. Mackenzie Shirilla was convicted on 14 counts, including 2 counts of murder. At just 19 years old, she was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison, eligible for parole in 15 years, but very likely to serve much longer. Natalie and John sat silently in the courtroom as the sentence was read. They weren't just watching their daughter be taken away. They were watching the collapse of everything they thought they knew. "We love our daughter," John said quietly to the press after the sentencing. "But we can't understand what happened. We don't know that girl anymore." The Shirilla home in Strongsville, once filled with photos of Mackenzie in cheer uniforms and prom dresses, now stood in quiet ruin. Friends stopped calling. Neighbors avoided eye contact. They had become the parents of a killer. Dominic Russo's family, meanwhile, wore t-shirts with his name printed across the chest. "He didn't deserve this," his mother cried outside court. None of them did. And Davion's family, still broken, still asking why, still mourning a life lost in a tragedy he had nothing to do with. It's a story that asks difficult questions about teen mental health, about impulsivity, about obsession, and the fragile line between love and rage. How does a bright young girl become a killer overnight? Was it planned? Or did something snap? Those questions may never be fully answered. But for now, Mackenzie Shirilla will spend the rest of her youth behind bars. Her victims will never grow old. And 2 families will forever carry the weight of one senseless act. If this story moved you, shocked you, or left you thinking, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next chilling investigation. We bring you the real stories behind the headlines. True crime that's emotional, cinematic, and unforgettable. Stay safe, stay informed, and keep watching.